I'll move the mouse. You move the mouse. That's good.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. My name is Colin Wilson, and I have this wonderful man next to me called Sam Capuano from Inspired Business Solutions, who's going to be a big part of our webinar today. So say hello, Sam.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining.
Beautiful. Now, I just want to make sure you can hear us because that's really, really important. So can you just put a message in the chat box? So it's open for everyone to put a question in or a comment in the chat box. So if you can hear us nice and easy, that'd be absolutely fantastic. So perfect. Loud and clear. Thank you. Very good. Very good. And that's why we want to run this webinar. We like to run webinars that are interactive. So what we'll do is throughout this webinar, it is being recorded. So it'll be up on our website within the next 24, 48 hours. But also what we'll do is throughout our session today, for the next hour, we'll open it up to having a bit of conversation, anything you want to talk to us about, because we've collaborated together, and that's the way I love to do it, the way I like to run a webinar. Not always about me, but always doing it with somebody else, so it's a bit more interactive. And I think it makes the webinar. So hopefully we can meet your expectations today in this webinar. So for those who don't know me, my name is Colin Wilson. I'm the owner of Key Business Advisors. Absolutely love what I do. We've been operating for 16 years and very passionate about, going into businesses and if I can say, turning them on, taking them from good to great, which is our mission and our catchphrase. There's 4 pillars to our business. We're all about business strategy and growth. We're not accountants, not the last webinar, but the webinar before. I did a webinar with Steve Milicevic from Milicevic Lawyers, and he got some, some tips on how to run a business. So I'm all about bringing in expertise to help, those business owners out there, you out there, on how to run a better, successful business. You need to have good people and culture because that's what grows a business. And, we're an outsourced HR business. There are quite a few people who are registered for this webinar who are existing clients, and we thank you for being part of the KBA brand. And we're all about leadership and sales training because to me, that's what grows the business. Our mission, and anyone who's done any work with me, it's all about mission, vision, and values, but our mission is always about taking a business good to great. How do we get that business to the next level? It's not easy, Sam. It's not easy at all. And our purpose is to take our customers on a journey through all aspects, in my opinion, of all aspects of employee engagement and performance. Because if we've got really good engagement, then we know the performance happens if you've got good strategy and good accountability. So that's enough about me because this is all about, Sam and his business and what he wants, what he's going to go through with you today. So Sam, take us through a bit about yourself, please.
Thank you, Colin, and thank you for allowing me to be a part of this today. It's greatly appreciated. I'll share with you a little bit about my story. I'm a director of Inspired Business Solutions, which is an accounting firm, and a director of Inspire Wealth Creation, which is a financial planning firm. I've worked in the industry now for about 20 plus to 24 years. And about 2012, I decided to actually take another journey, which was to head over to the USA and become part of the actual John Maxwell Foundation, which was a foundation built around coaching, leadership, and mentoring. And I just wanted to be able to add that extra element to the business where it became more of a conversation with the business owner about who they were being for their organisation, as opposed to it just being on paper and what the numbers were telling us. So I wanted to do that a little bit more. And as I said, I've been in the industry for about 24 years, which has been fantastic. We work with individuals that are on PAYG income. We work with mum and dad businesses just like you and me. And we work with larger type businesses as well. We have a team of about 5 people at the moment. It's pretty much that it's a business of that size because that's what I really want. Business is a reflection in relation to, it gives you the lifestyle that you want. So if that looks like it's 5 people, 10 people, 20 people, then that's great. And that's for you and what you want it to be. So that's how we do that at Inspire, and it suits lifestyle. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go on. At a personal level, I'm married. I'm celebrating 25 years this year, Colin.
There you go. And we're going to Europe.
We are going to Europe to celebrate that, which is really, really good and exciting. I'm very fortunate to have Belinda by my side for that long. We have 2 great daughters, Sienna and Alyssa, which are 19 and 16. So we deal with the day-to-day stuff of running a business, running lifestyle, running around and doing all of that and understanding what the impact that it has. Again, at that personal level with Belinda, we've had some businesses that more micro businesses that have been really good, but we've also had businesses that haven't been that great, that haven't gone as strong as we wanted them to, that have cost us at times financially money. So I understand what it's like to go through those scenarios where it's just not all perfect. We've been on that other side. So today's really about sharing some of those ideas and those pieces of the puzzle that I have that I think to go and make a strong business. And that's what I want to share today. Some of the things that you may have already heard, which is great, but what I want you to do, if you have heard something that I'll talk about, is ask yourself, how well are you implementing that right now?
Beautiful.
Okay. I think we can start to move forward.
Yeah, you just clap and I'll move. Yep.
Okay.
Perfect. Yep.
It's on you. Let's go through. So what are we going to cover off on today? Today's really about, next slide for me.
Yep.
Thank you. So really today's about like-minded people getting together. Yep. What I really like is that you've taken the time out to be a part of this today. I think the best we get out of this learning and this sharing is when we can share. We all have ideas, we all have experiences, and I think the best way to move through that is by sharing. So there'll be times where I'm going to get you to write a few things down. I want you to reflect, and I want you to be able to take some things away from that. I'm going to talk about why we actually went into business and where it all started and what I call some freedoms. For any business, we'll talk about how we grow a business. We need to grow the leader within that organisation. We'll look at what I call a concept of the water wheel of business and who we need to be for that and how we look at that. Then we'll talk about profitability within an organisation, and we'll look at somewhere cash may be hiding.
Cash is king.
Cash is king. Without cash, there is no lifeblood to it.
Yep.
So yeah, there's two parts. The first part I want to focus on is the individual and who we are for that organisation. And then part two will be more around the numbers side of things.
And I think that's a good point. Sometimes we don't sit back and reflect, who are we within the business? I think that's a big one. Right.
Yeah. So I love this proverb that I was able to come across. When you hear something, you forget it. When you see something, you'll remember it, but not until you do something will you understand it. So what I want you to be able to take from that today is you've all taken this time out of your busy days to be able to put aside an hour to be able to watch this, be a part of this today. So if you can, take some action out of today, whether that you get to the end of this and you go, I'm going to make a phone call to Colin, I'm going to follow some things up, whether you reach out to us and have a conversation that may be a little bit deeper for your organisation, we can do that. Or whether it's just print off a profit and loss and have a look at something within that that may be telling you something after today that may be able to make a difference. Small changes having a really big impact.
Yeah, and whatever you do, don't do nothing. That's what I'll say. Yeah, you do something. Yeah. And this also might tick the boxes off for a lot of people as well. Hey, we're doing this right. We're doing this right. We're doing this right. I think is what's really, really important.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. So I love this statement, and sometimes it can be quite confronting. Your business is a reflection of you. So I understood that when we were going through things at any time, whether it's the current businesses that I have or the businesses with Belinda, what was going well in the business was because of us, us. And what didn't go well within the business was because of me or us. So the business is always going to be a reflection of you. And that's the first thing that I really want to start to share with you today. You get an idea of how we operate at Inspire Business Solutions, and that the way I deal with you, the client, it's more than just the numbers.
And we are a client of Sam's. I want to make that very, very clear. Client of Sam's, we've been involved with you for the last couple of years. And it's been amazing. And again, you're right. The business, it's a reflection of you. You drive it. You walk in with the wrong attitude, then you create it. Yeah,
it's a flow-on effect, and it's a question of how long we stay there in that mindset, in that position. So it's really important that we can talk about numbers and we can talk about our statements and what they're telling us, but there's a bigger equation to that to get it right, and that's the individual. That's why I want to share a bit of that and continue to share that today. So whenever we have a meeting with a client and we have that first consultation, I really go back to the basics. I really go back to where it all started and why did we go into business and why did we have that idea that came to us at some level spiritually, I'll say, that entered into us. And it did that because you are resourced to be able to carry that idea out. But there was a reason why we did that. And I think as business goes on and as life becomes challenging, we can forget why we did those things. So I always like to go back and reflect and remind ourselves of why we do what we do. And I summarize that into what I call freedoms. What are the freedoms that we have? So I look at it in a way that there are probably 3 freedoms of why we go into business. Next slide. The first one being financial freedom. What does that look like for you? What does that look like for everybody? For some, it could be pay our house off. It could be have no debt. It could be have enough cash flow left over just to live and enjoy that. It could be to enjoy and go on a holiday and things like that. So was there financial freedom? What did that look like for everybody? The next one would always be about time freedom. Like, why did we go into business? Was it to be able to have a decision to only work 4 days a week and not 5 or 6? Was it to be able to have the freedom to go out and maybe play golf, go fishing, spend the time with the family, making a decision why you did that? And the last one being what I call mind freedom. So why did we go into business? Was it to be able to switch off at any time? Was it to be able to create a business that was sustainable enough and have the resources enough that could allow you to switch off, not be on the phone on the weekend, not be on email 24/7. So I think those 3 freedoms are there that if we can start to reflect on those and understand those, it goes back to going, that's why we did what we did and why we want to get this and get that passion back.
And when you think about it, you know, we do go into business. We're going to ask you a question in a minute, but we go into business, and I always talk about, you know, just to align it. If you don't work the business, then the business will own you, right? So, and that goes back to exactly, you know, what you said. So, I think what's really, really important is, you know, we'd love you to have a think about those 3 things. You know, take a few minutes. And then of one of those 3 things, you know, chuck it in the chat box. You know, how do you feel about, you know, what is it you want within your business? What is that, you know, what's that freedom look like?
What's it look like?
Yeah. So I think it's really, really important. So while they're doing that, Sam, and, you know, well, I'm massive, as you know, on that strategic planning. What's our plan with the business? Why do we need to put things in place? Because it's a pathway. It's a pathway to drive. And you bring so many bits and pieces into, you know, that plan. How do we market better? How have we got our financials right? Do we have our budgets right? You know, what's our debt collection right? So that's a big part of it, because that all, you know, you've got to have that plan to get this freedom. That's the way I see it.
No doubt. And I really think it's like they are all the pieces of the puzzle that will go along to making a strong business. You know, if I was to give you a puzzle with 10,000 pieces and I gave you a box and the box was just white and I go put that together. How would you feel about that? Or what we tend to do is we look at that box and we look at the picture first and then go, that's what I need to build.
And where do we start? Okay, so don't be shy, guys. There's a few on here. Let's share. So, you know, freedom. What does freedom look like in your business? Is it the holidays? Is it the, you know, time with the family? Is it, you know, having money to go and do, you know, to reinvest, you know, like, and if, and, you know, have you got the freedom is probably, you know, another thing to think about, but, you know, what does freedom look like? So, you know, I know, Claire, you can hear us. Here we go. All of the above, says Emma. So, you know, Terry, you know, that's out there, or, you know, Claire, what is it? You know, what, or Louise, Sharon, what is it that you know, we think about freedom? What is freedom? So I'll tell you what freedom's not, is when you are going a million miles an hour, working 7 days a week, and no time to have a break. You know, that is a big problem for a lot of business owners, is not having that time. And
it happens, and it's common.
Yep.
And it really becomes consuming with that day-to-day life of running that business and dealing with all the things that happen, whether it's with family and children and things like that. So this is really a time to be able to reflect and be able to remind ourselves of why you do what you do and what the passion was all about.
Yeah, I like what Trina's written, choice. Yeah, that's a big one. You're like, I can choose to have an afternoon off. I can choose to play golf. I can choose to go on 4 weeks holiday. So I think, you know, setting boundaries is another one. So again, all right, we've got some juices flowing now, but, you know, this comes back to, you know, what you said. We're going into business. Why are we going into business? And what do you want to get out of the business? So sometimes people just fall into a business, you know.
It can, and it can through family bloodlines, and that you're there. And you know, they're the interesting ones where we start to have that and we start to drill down on those conversations. But it definitely can happen where you fall into it. I think what's important too, just to talk about with freedoms, is that you know, one of my freedoms was to be able to make a decision about the hours that are being worked. During the great weather and daylight saving, I love to play golf. I love to have my meetings all the way booked up until on a Friday till about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And then if I can hit the golf course at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 3:30 in the afternoon, that is great for me, because it's daylight saving gives me the hours. But does it happen every week? No, it doesn't.
Mm.
And it's becoming okay with that. Just to say that, it's like an 80-20 rule.
Yep.
Some weeks it's going to happen, then there might be that day that it just can't happen. This is not about throwing all responsibility out and just going, well, okay, well, it's golf day, forget it. But sometimes we've just got to be able to put ourselves in that position where we do set those boundaries, we do have those choices, and we are reminding ourselves of why it is we do what we do.
100%. All right. So, okay, let's move on, Sam. So have a look.
Just to start to tie that together again and thinking about the beginning of why we did what we did, I think it's really important question that at some point in time, I'll always ask the business owner, how satisfied are you right now?
Mm.
How satisfied are you in the business? And I sort of break it up into some key areas. Now, I know part of today, it may not appear on the screen, that everyone that has joined will be able to get access to what I call a satisfaction wheel.
Yep.
And just to give you an idea, the satisfaction wheel, at the end, it's just a circle, but it's going to be made up of some key thoughts. It's going to be made up around money. It's going to be made up around your health, relationships with family and friends, how your business is performing, recreation, how your business is growing. And the way I want you to look at this when you receive this circle is right in the middle, it's 0. And at the end of it, it will be a 10. So if we use, business performance as an example, if I was to ask you the question in relation to how is business performance going for you right now, if it was a 0, well, then you would put a little mark right at the end there.
Yep.
If it was a 10 and can't get any better, then we'll mark it there. So really what we want to achieve is a nice perfect circle. It'd be great if everything was a 7 or a 6 or a 10.
That's right.
But what you can see in this example, that if this was a tie, it wouldn't work really well.
Mm.
But it may just give you an insight in relation to what we need to put our focus on right now. Where our focus go, our energy will flow towards.
Yeah.
Okay?
And I think that's a big one. How do you get, and again, just with the work that, I guess that we're doing with our clients is how do we get that team to perform? You know what I mean? So you're not doing all the work, I think is a big one, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's one of my biggest aspirations in my business is how do I get the team just to own it and do it, so I can slow down a little bit. So, and that's happening.
Golf on a Friday.
Bit golf on a Friday.
Yeah.
That's it.
But it's important. Take the opportunity to do that. Again, it goes right back to the start, not until you do something that will either remember or take action. So when you have that moment, maybe it's tonight, maybe it's on the weekend, have a look at that wheel, and I'd love it if you could complete it. And you're most welcome to actually send it into Colin or to myself, and we can have a discussion about that.
Yep. Sounds good.
Cool.
All
All right. So what does it mean to start building a strong business now? And for me, building a strong business, Colin, I've spoken to you a lot of times about it, just like building a house. It's going to be built on a strong foundation of slabs.
Yep.
So if we have a strong slab, our house will stand up really strong. But what's in that slab that makes up that for me? For me, a strong slab will always be about what are the core values within your organization? What is it that your business stands for? And I know that you do a lot of work on that and building vision, mission, and values within an organization. It makes you very clear of who we are and what we're about.
Well, I think that, I always say it's the Holy Grail, right? So it's about building that, getting the behaviors right. So this is our mission. This is our, our vision. This is our purpose. These are our values. And again, when we go into a company and we try and change the culture or change the direction of the business to improve it, that's where we start. And because I know that gives a central point, because everyone can go and point fingers at and blame, well, this is not working, that's not working, this is not working. But hang on a tick, are we true to our word, right? Ours is taking the business from good to great. So, and we bring that into our meetings. Like, this morning, Monday morning meeting, let's talk about last week. Who do we take from good to great? What does good to great look like? Even with our team members in our business, I want to get you to the next level. So you're good, but I want you to be great, So it's all that language. So I think it's very, very meaningful. And we, if anyone's done any work with me, I always bring it back to the case studies of the business. So, during the week we did a job really, really well. We went, we didn't go so well. Why? And is that part of our core values? Right. And here's one where we went above and beyond. That is our values. That's the place we want to, play in. So I think it's really, really important.
If I ever have a conversation with a client in relation to their team and their team members about making some decisions on, I like to say, do we free up their future or not?
Yep.
I always will go back to their core values.
Yep.
Does the individual meet the core values of the organization?
Yep.
And if I can't get more ticks than crosses, then I think the decision gets made. And that's not saying it make a decision straight away and it's done. You give opportunity. I love organizations that will give opportunity and allow someone to grow and develop. But the core values go a long way to make decisions.
And that's HR best practice. Give them the opportunity to succeed, build the resources, and if they don't, well then okay, that's other decisions. But when you raise the bar, I always talk about people will leave because the values are strong and the team's strong. So you know, it's how it is.
People don't outgrow their business; they outgrow their leaders.
Yep. Very true.
So part of that slab then is either grow the business, grow the leader, which we'll talk more about, and then obviously knowing the numbers and having some form of numbers in place through budgets and cash flows and things like that. Once our foundations are nice and strong, we can look at growth, which are really the walls of our business, the pillars: growth, profit, cash flow. From there, we can move on to how do we put a roof on this? And roof could look like in the form of an asset protection. How do we structure it correctly? What does this business look like on the way out? Perhaps is it something we want to sell? What does succession planning look like within the business? But it's all about getting the slab right at the beginning. Hence that first part of this conversation that we're having.
Yeah, 100%. And again, I think you know, Sam, you'd be surprised. You just the amount of clients we go to that really. They're not, if I can say it, they're not super planned when it comes to their P&L. They're not, you know, like if I can say, I'll use my wife's words, Lorraine's words. We have a dog groomer across the road. They're passionate about grooming dogs, 100%. Right? But when it comes to the administration or knowing the financials of the business, they, you know, not so good at that. And I think, you know, as leadership grows, and that's so so imperative that you know the numbers, you know how how the business makes money. And a big thing that I talk about a lot is in a company to create empowerment is teaching your team about business acumen. How does this business make money? Right now, that sometimes when we're going to clients, they don't like that. But you know, I think the more you educate them, don't talk about net profit or anything like that, but they've got to know that if we're going well or we're not going well, then that's super important. So the staff have got to know, and if you've got good culture, they will dig in and help the business out, and they will try. And I think that business acumen, which I always talk about, is really, really important. And for the viewers that are on this, they're on this webinar. Of recent, we did a team session, which I'm really big on, and I actually got Sam to come in and talk about these three pillars, right? And just, and where everyone fits in the business. Now, I'm an owner and I'm very direct and I'm passionate about my business, but, I'm a massive believer in that third party coming in to, and we do that every quarter. Yeah. We shut our business down and we bring the team in to go back through our values and why we do what we do and how can we actually improve. But you went through this slide in particular, and that just, I can say the penny just dropped. That wasn't a case of the guys went hard or anything like that on our current clients. They just understand, the importance of, making sure that we're covering, we're hitting our targets. And I think in most companies we go into, they don't have that, if I can say it, they don't have that conversation every week. Yeah. I was in a client, last week, and one of the things we talk about, do you share the numbers with the team? Do you share what's important with the team? And I think, for me, what's important is making sure that everyone knows. I talk about is the business is going well, and they all should know when the business is hurting, because we all know it goes, and never do we have a business that just goes up and up and up.
Sure.
Right. It goes, we live that roller coaster ride all the time.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, it's an interesting conversation that you have in relation to the way the business will work and how it flows. The question around, do I show them my numbers? Well, I don't think you need to show all the numbers.
No, I don't.
But definitely as a minimum, there needs to be budgets that are set. Now, they can work out what the numbers may be or the sales may be for the organisation. But I think those that aren't in business probably think everybody in business is making a hell of a lot of money just because they're turning over a lot. Or it can be very different to that, what the reality is. But we need to have some targets. We need to be able to measure. When we measure, we can manage.
Yep.
And it allows you to have open-ended conversations around that, which is really good. So that's building a strong business. Let's just keep moving forward through here. I don't know if I said this earlier, the books that you read and the people you associate yourself with will determine who you are in the next 5 years. So for me, reading and listening to podcasts and things like that is really important. It's part of the growth and development.
Feed the brain.
Definitely makes a difference. Your windscreen is your library of resources in the car. Windscreen with the phone on there, listening to podcasts can make a huge difference. But what I'm going to share with you, this concept here is out of E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. If you haven't read it, it's a great book. Highly recommended. I'd put it on your list if you haven't read it. But what he talks to us about is us, who we are within the organisation and the journey that we go on through with this entrepreneurial ladder. So at some point, we're all employees, perhaps. We started somewhere. We might have been working on the tools, but we made a decision. Idea came to us. We were resourced to take action, to create a business. So we took that next step on the ladder where we perhaps became this sole trader, or we created a structure, might have been a company or a partnership, but we decided to take that next level. From there, we're starting to grow, business is getting bigger, we're developing, we might have to hire some people. So we're starting to find that with this role is changing and we're managing now. Ultimately, where we want to get to on this ladder is this ladder of where we are the leader within this organisation. But what the numbers are starting to show us is that as business owners, we only spend really 10% of the time being the leader within the organisation. 20% of the time is being the manager and sole trader with those activities. But a lot of the time we fall back into the trap of being the employee and working on those tools. Now, there are times where we need to do that, no doubt. What it is as a business owner and a business leader of the organisation, we're recognising where we need to be on that ladder for that business to continue to develop and grow. I'll put my hand up. I'm always working towards being that leadership and managing, but there are times there where things are just, there's a lot on. And we need to be able to go, no, I need to step in here because that's part of being a great leader. Going, it's okay for me to get back on that tool and get that done for now. It means we're all moving forward and giving that next person a chop out, just like you said. I think it was an earlier conversation we had. So what I want to do in relation to this now is who are we being in relation to where we are on the ladder for your business, okay? So whenever we want to continue to grow and be and develop our business, if I have a conversation with a client about, hey, how's my business going? It needs to do better. It's not giving me what I want. Well, the theme I always come back to is to grow the business, I need to grow the leader. And that's part of our early conversation that we've been having. So if I can describe it in a way that if this is your business and this is you, if you were to rate your leadership out of 10, a 3 or 4 or 5, at the end of the day, your business is never going to outperform you.
That's right.
The natural state of your business is to grow. But these things that we've been sharing as our first part is about being able to grow you. That if you're a 4, we make you a 5, we make you a 6, we make you a 7. Once you do that, you create the room and the capacity for the business to go again. Then when we get there, we go again. So that's why it's really important to have the conversations with you. It's really important to build strong foundations. It's really important that you are growing, developing as a person, as a business owner, as a leader of the organisation, because you are either moving forward or going backwards. You are never stationary.
One of the things I talk about, Sam, is that vicious circle. We live in a vicious circle, and I hope you guys, I hope you're enjoying what we're going through. So give us some feedback or a bit of feedback. But one of the things I'm massive on, and this was a hard decision for me to do, and that was to block out from 8 o'clock to 2 p.m. every Monday. And I know we're doing a webinar right now, which is fine, but that's me in my business working on my business, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, so again, and I'm there for my team. So I think, if I'm not there for my team, then, we'll have a good week. Don't worry, we're a great team. But I think if I'm there for my team, that empowerment, that just realignment, I think is just so valuable. And not only is it value for them, but for anyone that's done some work with me, I get huge value myself, right? Because I know that I can instruct the team, hey, can you do this for me? Can you do this? So I'm very well planned on a Monday, and you just choose the day of the week or the time of the week. It's a bit like what you're talking about with the golf, and I love my golf too. So, but again, that R&R. But I think what is really, really important is, if you choose to grow the leader, well, then what are you doing, and how are you putting that time aside where for an example, I know I could easily take some billable work at 11 o'clock this morning. Easily, no problems at all, right? But if I do that, does that then cost, or does that then disempower my team because I'm not there for them? That's the point that I want to make.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important, you know, grow the bit. We have meetings and all that sort of stuff, and we have a meeting like a, you know, goes for an hour or an hour and a bit. But again, it's that presence of being around, you know, and being there. So of a Monday, I sit in my boardroom, which is just behind me here, and I just open door and then, you know, we have it set up. So it's just like, it's a well-oiled machine, if I can say that.
No doubt. And it really goes back to that entrepreneurial ladder as well. You're catching yourself having a conversation in relation to, I can go back there and do that, but what's the impact, or
Correct.
what is the opportunity cost that I move by staying on that rung of the ladder?
Yep.
But I have no doubt, I know there are times through conversations that we've had together where you have done that. I know I have done that, and that's okay. This is just really about making sure that that's something that if you can take that away with you today, to give yourself that conversation to go, where am I sitting right now? What do I need to do that's going to have the biggest bang for dollar within that organization? So to continue to just finish off on the theme around that leadership and having a strong foundation and building a strong base, what I would love to talk about is just who we're being, how are we acting, are we above and below the line? And I'm not sure if anyone has seen that already out there, but you know, when we're acting below the line as a leader, we are all about blame. We're all about excuses. And a lot of the time we're spending it in denial about what's really going on. So you'll find that the language really is around them and they, and we really play the victim. If we want to be a leader and act above the line, that's really about taking ownership. It's really taking about accountability and being, you know, responsible for what's going on. And a lot of that language you'll find is that it will be me, I, and I'll be playing that victor in that situation. So, but Colin, do we go below the line?
No.
You never do.
No, I try on my very hardest.
I'm going to have to learn from there.
Yeah, well, because the way, I mean, it happens.
It happens. It sure does. And
but I always, my analogy of this, and you've got two professionals here, is if I do go below the line, then I'm like the soccer coach that's now playing the game and leaving my team behind, right? So, you know, coaching and mentoring is a big thing. So letting a staff member make a mistake sometimes is a good thing, depending on the mistake. I'll make that very, very clear, because you don't want something that's going to damage the brand, right? But it's certainly, you know, you want to try and how do we stay above that line? And that's all about that professionalism and what I call holding yourself true to your core values of the business.
Yeah, and I think the point out of that slide there is that we do go below the line. There is no doubt that happens. I can guarantee we all do it. Whether it's just making a negative comment of what's going outside in the community, whether it's like not being happy that the chair wasn't pushed in, we do that. What we have to take away from that is how long do we stay below the line?
Sure.
Because we all go there. I go there. But if we can capture ourselves as leaders of the organisation where we start to go, I'm actually below the line right now. Okay, walk away, count to 5, reset to go, what does it mean now to be above the line? That's okay, because it will happen. Okay.
I always bring it back to the plan. That's it. Back to the plan, the pathway, what we're doing.
So that's around our leadership. Now, just to tie up of Michael Gerber's entrepreneurial ladder, the reason why I wanted to share that with you was because who you are being for your business, whether you're being the employee or you're being the manager or you're being the leader, is going to be very different when we look at it in the form of our business. So if I use this example being a water wheel, and the water wheel is your business, the buckets on the wheel are your products or services, and the flow of water we could call cash coming into the business. Now, an employee is going to look at this water wheel of business very differently. Their role is to come in, hit that button every day at 7 o'clock in the morning and turn that wheel over. They've done that job, it's done. Someone who may be acting the manager within this organisation, they're going to be showing up perhaps to ensure that that wheel is turned on. Great, the employee did what they needed to do. They may find that it's a little bit squeaky or not making the sound that it should. They might apply a little bit of oil, but to ensure that it keeps going. But the leader in the organisation is going to look at this business very differently. They're going to be looking at it going, okay, how can I get more of that cash and that flow into my business? Well, I could make my buckets bigger. I could make the wheel bigger and add more buckets to it. I could have a look at the flow of money and river that's coming in and saying, geez, it's drying up. Okay. Maybe I need to go across the road because that river is very different. I had a conversation many years ago that when film was before it is today with our cameras, it was the old film.
Yeah.
They processed. And I remember having a conversation that was never ever going to take off. Digital cameras were never ever going to take off.
They did, yeah.
They did not want to move into that space of buying digital machines where you could come in and print off your photos and do all of that.
Well, Kodak learned that lesson, didn't they?
They sure did.
Yeah.
So then you look at it very differently. And that's the point of this slide here, is just to go, okay, how are you looking at this business? Who you are being, whether you look at it as the employee, the manager, or the leader, is very different. So sometimes I hear a lot of conversations where they just don't get it. The employee just doesn't get it. Well, they're looking at it very differently than what you are.
And that's that business acumen conversation for sure. And it's funny, Sam, I was at a Mother's Day dance on Saturday night. So I'm married to a wonderful Italian, and they wanted to have a big Italian, all the family together for Mother's Day. It was great. But you know, someone knows what I do and everything like that. So if I use the word, they leached onto me. They grabbed me, pulled me aside, sat me down. And if I was to sum it up, you know, that particular person's fallen out of love with their business, right? And you know, in many ways, I look at it, and that's probably why it's not working as great. Like, they still want to work and everything like that, but that passion and that drive, you know, and that wheel, you know, when you talk about the wheel, you know, that's the way I see it. The wheel has slowed down. The market's changed a little bit, so haven't reinvigorated themselves. So again, you know, that goes back to you know, you just got to be. It's just if anyone knows what, you know, what I'm like, it's all about keep driving it, keep driving, keep turning that wheel over, and making sure that that's got it. And everyone plays a role in that wheel to make it turn. I think it's important.
No doubt. And that's exactly right, because we definitely need that individual to come in and switch it on in the morning.
Absolutely.
Without that, otherwise it doesn't happen. So I guess just a question for everyone out there, just put it in the comment box. How are we feeling? Can we resonate with anything that was spoken about through the entrepreneurial ladder or this water wheel of business? Just take 30 seconds and give you an opportunity just to put something in that chat box.
Right, needs that background music, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Can you sing? I know you can dance.
No, I can't sing.
You're a good dancer.
Yes, no, I'm not too bad. Got out there and did a bit on the Saturday night. So yeah. So that's good.
How are we feeling out there? We're good. We're still there.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Makes great sense. Lots to think of. Okay, perfect.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks,
much
Sharon.
Appreciate it, Sharon.
All right.
Let's continue to move forward. So I'm going to leave that there. That's part one, where we talk about really who we were for the business and how we are being viewed on it. Let's start to drill down a little bit about profitability.
It is about that empowerment, though, isn't it? It's about that empowerment we just spoke about. Yeah. Okay.
So here we'll talk about now the business side, the number side of profitability and cash flow. And what I love to take everyone through is what I call this growth equation. Now, I know that a lot of conversations you may have with your accountant is really focusing on the right side through your sales and cost of sales, your gross profit, your expenses being profitability. But Colin, you'll know that a lot of the conversations that we have is always going to be built around sales and what that is. But there's more to it than just a number. So I want you to have a look at this growth equation, and you can do it for any business. Treat it as a summary of numbers for a 12-month period. So it could be from the 1st of January, 31st of December, or it could be the financial year. But let's just use the example. 31st of December finishes and January comes and it starts. So at 31st of January, you've got an existing customer base that will come with you on the 1st of January. From that point, you're either going to retain some of them, you may retain all of them, which is great. But what is the retention rate of those new customers for the next 12 months? Once you know your existing customers and your retention rate, from there, they become your retained customers. Now we're generating new work and we want new people to come on board for the next 12 months. So what are our number of leads or inquiries that we are getting over that 12-month period? From there, we need to convert them into new clients that aim to become. So what's your conversion rate? From there, over that 12-month period, you have newly acquired customers. So your retained customers and your acquired customers will equal the total customers that you work with over a 12-month period. Where you want to drill down now is what is the average sale, the average transaction that those customers are going to invest with your business? And then how many times will they do that? So total customers by the average times that they deal with you, by the average rate, that gives you your sales figure.
It does. It does. And look, I'm just, realise that, we've got a couple of people from the funeral industry, right? So the existing customer is, well, that's an interesting one, isn't it?
Sure is.
Yeah, but it's a family, like,
Sure
they're
is.
your existing customers, and I'm all about market share too. So if you can't look at this and calculate it, well, okay, what's your slice of the market right now, your little
Sure.
slice, and what would it look like if you could increase that slice?
Yeah.
That slice of the cake would be really, really good.
Yeah, and it's a great point that you make it in relation to that industry. Real estate agents as well.
That's
like
exactly
you'll
the
buy
same,
a
yeah.
house, how many times do you go back? So
Yep.
what is it that they are doing really well? So within this growth equation, there's a question there that hopefully everyone can answer for me. You can see there are blue boxes and there are white boxes. What's the difference between the blue and the white box? I'll give you another 20 seconds to answer that if someone can do that. What is the difference between blue versus white?
One is blue and one is white.
That's one difference.
Yep.
Yes, no doubt. Another 10 seconds, see if anyone's got an answer. Possible growth? Yeah, definitely. Any others? You can influence the blue, but you can't. 100% correct, Sharon. Yeah, definitely. So the blue is your activity and the white are your results. So spot on. Perfect. I love that. Definitely the blue are your activities. If we want more sales, just increase our prices if we can do that. If we want to increase our sales, go get more leads and have a higher conversion rate. Get them to come back more often and buy from you. So the blue is the activity that you have control over as a business owner and as a business leader. They're the things that you control. So if we just focus on sales and have a meeting with your accountant with about the P&L and this is the bottom line, okay. But if we are in a business that we want to grow and develop because it's not giving us the lifestyle that we want, then we need to drill a little bit deeper to go, what is it that's doing those sales and how do we change the activity of what's going on?
And that goes back to things like, and the things that I, because obviously I have a massive sales and marketing background, but, how do we market our business better and how do we, look at our service offerings and are we good at, that dirty word of cross-sell and upsell or cross-promote, I think is really, really important. But I think, again, that comes back to, and I always talk about from the heart, right? And so do you. We're on the same page, like if you genuinely believe the customer needs this and this is what you can do for them, then, and it's not about every business owner is going to, or a leader is going to be able to do this naturally, right? What's important is if the whole company can do that, then this grows and this can grow very quickly just through some training, development. And I go back to that understanding about that business acumen, why we need to do this, So, and look, and the question was asked is why do we market so hard, right? Because you just never know. COVID taught us that, right? You never know what is around the corner. So I'm massive on, the meetings I have with Emma, and we share it with the team. Like this morning, the leads that come in, who's got the leads, who's taking ownership, why they're important. Like it's getting that well-oiled machine creates this result that you get at the end. Yeah,
no, definitely. And you can see part of those, the role that you play in relation to the marketing and the leads and the conversion. It's really, as a business owner, building a strong team around you, a strong board, a strong panel, whether it's have a great lawyer on your side before you need a great lawyer, have a great accountant on your side before you need one, have a great business coach and mentor before you need one. Build the team around you to create that success.
I call that the advisory board, Sam. Yes, you're a good advisory board. And I think what's important is everyone's on the same page. That's for me a big one.
Yeah, sure. Very good. Let's drill a little bit deeper and then as we continue to move forward. So retention rate for me, I always say to the client, what's your post-purchase experience like? Do you forget about me after I bought from you? Do you send them off to the orphanage, let's say, and we don't want to worry about that anymore? What is the post-purchase experience like? Do you give a phone call? Do you give guarantees within the organisation to your customers and your client base? Are there guarantees there? What are you doing to retain them to make sure that they come on again? Are you under promising and over delivering?
Yep.
Is that part of it?
Goes back to the values.
How well do you know your customer?
Mm.
Now, I have to say, I will buy coffees for the girls back at the office on a daily basis. I run down there and I go grab them. Where I go there, whether the barista has been there for 1 day or 2 days, they are always trying to remember the order of the individual that's. I love it. And she's like, new girl just started a couple of weeks ago. She's like, oh, Sam, you get normally the coffee with this and that. And it's like, Nelly, you need to add the almond latte on that one.
Yeah.
But it's really important for that organisation that they know their customer. So where do I go? There's 10 coffee shops in the area. I'm going back there.
Well, it's all about the experience.
Exactly right.
Everything's about the experience.
So what are we doing there? Let's keep going through that. And so what are we doing to increase leads? What's your advertising like? What's your marketing like? I know that when things are tough and things are hard in the economy, the first thing we always tend to let go is the marketing and the advertising, which is probably the one that you really need to ramp up, to be really honest, to continue to have that go. Now we're moving into social media. What does that look like on all of those platforms that you've got? Do we do the old-fashioned newsletter? Probably not. Probably online now, and we get with the Times column. There's no more papers.
That's right. Sometimes but an invitation, sending an invitation to a client is a good thing. Yeah. So in the mail, yep.
So become the expert. Let them know that you're the expert. I think a website's still really important. For some, I look at the website. If I have to deal with someone brand new, I will look at their website. I want to get a feel for who are they. How am I going to connect with them? How am I going to communicate them? What's my relationship going to be like? At the end of the day, they're buying into you first.
I talk about the heart being and the brains. The brains, your website, your service menu, and the heart is you showcase what you do. So they go to your website and want to engage your services.
So all of these are activities. These are the activities that are going to impact your sales and ultimately flow through to your bottom line being improved profit within the organisation. Again, conversion rate. Do you have sales training for your team? Do you continue to get them better? Do you have incentives? What are their targets? Going back to before sharing the numbers, no doubt they should have targets. No doubt, as a bare minimum, you should know what their conversion rates are.
Yep.
If we're in sales and we've got a really low conversion rate, there's some conversations to be had. That's the reality.
Yep.
Okay. Do you prepare proposals? Do you do quotes? When you give out a quote, do you email it and not follow them up? How long do you allow it to pass? A decision should be made within 24 to 48 hours. Once you get beyond that 48 hours, I believe you're starting to lose the value of what you actually have told them that you can bring to them.
Yep.
So I'm always a fan for, I really wouldn't send out a proposal unless you can have a conversation with them. Because what they do is they look at it and they make their own assumptions about the value.
Well, the training that I do is about ABC.
Yeah.
Always be closing an outcome. So I ask the client, when would you like the proposal? When would you like me to follow up? And just nail it, right? And again, that's the way I train it, and that's the way we do it in this business. It's pretty
so you can
strategy. Strategy.
We can actually say, as we're having this conversation, that there's a real synergy between the two of an accounting and looking at P&L and really what's behind that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's I want to go back to, and there's some, for people who do work with me, I ask the question, does your accountant hold you accountable? Right? That's it. Because if they don't hold you accountable, then maybe that's a conversation to have with your accountant. And I think sometimes when you're with an accountant for, sometimes there's a long period of time, if they've lost that connection with you,
sure,
then, you fall a bit out of love with your accountant. So I think what's really important is, you've just got to make sure that, and again, Sam, that's the thing for the last, 2 years for us, is you hold me accountable. You question. And I'm in a husband and wife relationship, and when questions are asked, it's a great conversation afterwards. And I think the other thing too is, having a business is one thing, but knowing you're on the right track is another, right? Because that gets rid of the emotion within a partnership. Sure. Husband and wife partnership, for sure. We're on the right track. We know what we're doing. Yeah,
100%. And I think out of this though is that being in business can be bloody lonely.
It is. Yep.
Right. At times it's lonely. So who do you turn to? Who are you having those conversations with? Are they all internally? If they are, I'd say pick up the phone and talk to Colin. If you're working with a Colin, I'd say pick up the phone and talk to your accountant, because sometimes you just need to get it out to free it up.
Yeah.
Okay. So look, conversion rate's really important. That gets us to knowing what our numbers are with our sales. Increasing the average transaction value. If we look at the next one, you know, you can increase prices. That will give us a higher sales value. Okay. Your products, can we package them together? Can we upsell them? You know, avoid discounting where we can, but
value add,
because it has definitely value add.
Yeah, because it's less. You make more margin if value add.
Yeah, know your products, sell the features. What are the benefits? Value add, like you're saying. You know, who do it really well? Macca's, do you want fries with that? Do you really want fries? But you know what? Give me a large.
You know what? It's interesting because when someone will always employ someone from Macca's, right? In a sales coordinator's role, because it's natural.
Exactly right. Natural. Bunnings do it.
Yeah.
I had a story. I went to Bunnings. I said to my wife at one point, the kids were a lot younger. I said, I'm just going to get Bunnings, buy some paint. We'll paint the house outside for them, what they were playing in.
Yeah.
I go, well, it wouldn't cost much, 4 litres. I go, and a brush, maybe $100. Ended up coming back with drop sheets, sticks to stir the paint. I didn't buy the brushes that were the standard. I brought the brushes that were cut on the side that were going to give me a nice straight line. The drop sheets, the cubby house was on grass. It didn't matter if I spilled the grass, but they were great at upselling and value adding. So they're the things that I want you to think about when we start to look at, again, sales. How well are we doing all of these things? Again, now continuing on that profit and loss as we work through sales and cost of sales, just look at your P&L. I hope that you are looking at that. Is there anything in there that you can go, look, you know, maybe there's something there that we need to look at, you know, increasing our buying power? Do we need to order things that are different? Are we buying things that aren't good? Do we talk to our suppliers about how much we're buying and have a conversation with them about, can they give us better prices? How well do we manage what we're buying? Do we just have a warehouse full of stuff?
Yeah.
You know, and that can happen. So they're all the elements that will impact that. But I have a question for everyone as we move forward. When we look at that profit and loss and sales being the first thing at the top of that page, who is the first sale always to? I'm going to give you 30 seconds. Who is the first sale always to within a business?
And while they're doing that, Sam, I actually had a great conversation with a client this morning because we talked about getting a deposit up front. And this is something this business hasn't done for a long time. And so I got 2 case studies. They asked for a deposit up front and the answer was, yep, no problems at all. They just did it. So you've got to ask for it. You don't ask, you don't get, right? But probably the greatest thing was this particular person asked and said, can I get 50% up front? And the client said, well, how much is it? So he's given the figure and he goes, well, I'll just pay the whole lot in one hit.
There you go.
Right. So again, I think that's good business practice, right? But it comes back to a confidence thing, right? So it comes back to your value, your mission, vision, values. This is part of our process now.
Yeah. And Emma, you're spot on. The first sale is always to yourself.
Yep.
If you don't see the value in it, then it's going to be really hard to increase price. It's going to be really hard to ask for a deposit.
Yep.
So always ensure that the first sale is always to yourself. Maybe a little rule of thumb too is if they're not complaining, it's too cheap, maybe.
Yep.
So interesting to test and measure what's actually going on out there. So that's our P&L. That's how we can start to improve our profitability. A lot of it will be driven through the activities that you have to generate sales, but no doubt there needs to be an analysis of expenses and cost of sales and making sure that we're not overbuying or we're subscribing to things that we don't have. You know, I know at a personal level, Netflix and Stan and Disney and all of that, you know.
Well, they make a killing out of it, don't they? And the average person doesn't watch either of them. Yeah.
100%. It's no different to our business, you know, when we have all these other things that are going on. It's the analysis and taking the time as a business owner and business leader to look at those things, what's going on. Honest conversations with yourself, your team, about what's really happening out there and your account.
You made a really good point there, Sam, because I think, you know, one of the things that I'm massive on is in a company, who owns it? Who owns it, right? Like as an owner, you think you've got to own everything, right?
Sure.
And you can't own everything because you just become dysfunctional, right? So, you know, who owns our cash flow and getting the money in? You know, who owns our marketing? You know, who owns our lead generation or follow up? You know, like again, that goes back to setting those ownership up. This is the big one, everyone.
So cash flow, cash flow is basically the lifeblood to your business. Okay, so without cash, it's not a really good look. And the reality is that the business is, I don't want to use dying, but essentially that's what it's doing.
Cash is king,
no doubt. And a lot of the things is if we're managing our businesses right now on a bank statement and money in the bank, that is leading to disaster. because we don't wake up today and go, oh, there's no money in the bank.
Mhm.
I can guarantee you, if you were to flow that back to a 3-month period earlier, there were things that were happening.
Yep.
Our clients weren't coming back. Our post-purchase experience wasn't working. Okay. We weren't charging the correct amounts, perhaps. We were missing something. We were missing invoicing and not getting things done. So you need to be able to analyze what's going on within the business, and that's your role as that leader again. Making sure that we just don't wake up tomorrow and there's no cash in the business.
Yeah.
If we're managing it that way, there needs to be a serious conversation about what we're looking at internally within
And they're
the
the rules.
organisation.
They're the rules. We set the rules.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't
No
allow
doubt.
things to go back to the ownership. We don't allow things to blow out. We
doubt.
set the rules. Yeah.
No doubt. So finding cash within the business, they're either going to be in your debtors, people owe you money. It's either going to be in your work in progress, perhaps, or it's going to be in stock that we're overstocked. So for me, there's sort of areas that we can look at. There's 6 points there that we can discuss about where cash could be. How do we get more cash within the business? Reflecting back on before about increasing prices, reducing your cost of sales. So analysing that, what's in there, where can we trim certain things? What do the overheads look like? Are there fixed overheads that we can move on? Is there better, refinancing of loans at time? I know it's a tough time right now to be able to do that, and banks can make it challenging, but just having a look at things like that about what's our opportunity. Stock is a big one. We have a lot of conversations at time where clients do have stock, and they can have stock that's years and years and years old. It's virtually becoming outdated, but need to let it go. Sometimes we can move stock on just to get some cash in the business. So if we've got really tight cash flow, we need to have a look at that. Okay, what is our debtors like? What is our debt collection process like? And number 6 is an interesting one where we start to talk about slowing down creditor payments. Sometimes we can be in a position, money comes in and it all goes out because we have to pay people. But it really needs to be based on a methodical calculation of, well, what can the business afford to do right now? How do we start to retain the cash within the business? Point 6 is not about paying nobody. Point 6 is about just going, well, if you do get something in, make sure that it fits your model of what you need to continue to run your business, because I do see where money comes in and goes straight out.
Yeah. Yes.
So have a debt collection system. If you don't have one, create one. What does it mean? What are your terms and conditions that you need to follow? Make sure you follow them. A lot of the time we can invoice and go, oh, it's 15 days, but we don't invoice until the end of the month. And then 15 day comes and they haven't been followed up. It's now 21 days. It's now moving further down the track. You go, okay, our 14-day policies just become 60 days. So you need to have a policy, and you need to make sure that the team stick to it and you're very clear on it. Communicate with your clients, let them know exactly what it is that your terms and conditions are. And remember, it's never personal. These are the policies and procedures of our organisation.
Yep.
It's not personal. Okay.
And just for those out there, there's a couple of sole traders that are on here. One of the things I say is create an account called accounts at Key Business Advisor or KBA. So you're sending an email. It's like you're the phantom debt collector, right? So it's not personal, right?
Yeah.
So make up a name as Sally. You know what I mean? Because if you struggle with doing that, then it's not personal. And again, I think that's really, really important.
And I think the greatest tip too is to acknowledge if a client rings up and says, "Hey, Colin, you know what? Belinda's been chasing me a hell of a lot for money. Get her to lay off." The response I would have is that's great. Thank you for the feedback, because now at least I'm aware that she's doing what she needs to do and she's following the processes and system. Hey, it's not personal, Sam. It's just the policies of this organisation. But hey, what do we need to have a conversation about?
That's setting the rules. I think is really important.
Stock control. Again, what is your policy of buying stock? If you're in that system of buying stock and you need to have that being retail, what are the buying trends that are out there? Know what's selling and isn't selling. Drill a little bit deeper with your accountant about stock turnover, because that's where cash is lying. Debtors, stock, work in progress. If we're profitable and there's no cash and it's not in any of those 3, then you're spending it.
Yeah. And we've seen it with the clients we've worked with. The salesperson's come around, given them a good deal, and they've purchased it. They've bought more, and it's impacted their business. So budgeting, perfect.
No doubt.
I'm just mindful of time, but we're going
to get through this. Non-negotiables. If you don't have a budget within your organisation, that needs to be the first agenda item that you get created. The great thing is we're in May, July starts soon. You need to have a budget. You need to be talking to your accountant about what those numbers are going to look like, and you need to set some targets.
Most importantly, you got to understand them, right? Because
Yeah.
if you don't understand them, then well, that's like us going fishing. We don't even know what bait to put on the hook.
Good luck. So yeah, no doubt you need that budget. What you measure, you can manage. Okay, we need some targets to work with. So non-negotiable budgets. Colin, I know you won't mind me sharing. Before we started together, you weren't doing weekly cash flows.
No.
Colin, every week at the end of the week with Belinda, we'll have a look at what the bank balance is.
Yep.
What we expect to receive in the next week.
Yep.
What we expect to pay out.
Yep.
To ensure that we have a closing balance that is enough for our working capital.
Yep.
Okay. It also is a driver to go, well, hey, we expected this money to come in. Why didn't it come in? Or we expected to pay these bills. You know what? I need some working capital. I can't pay that today, but let's get on the front foot. Let's have a conversation. It might look like, can I part pay?
Yep.
Can I pay you in a certain day?
Yep.
We can't be going in blind based on running a business. What's in my bank account?
No.
Have these models, have these tools that you are having conversations with the right people, being the leader within the organization to know exactly what it is that you need to run your business.
And you're 100% right. And you bring that part of your strategy. So the cash flow that we do, we also educate the team of who's not paid. So when the customer rings them, right, there's a process. So again, it is 100%. Sam, you've done an amazing job. And if any questions you want to ask us, and feel free to ask any questions. And as I said, you will receive an email of a link to this webinar. It'll be up on our website for the next 48 hours because Emma just does a wonderful job of that. While you're putting some questions in, I'm just going to go through our next webinars on the 8th of July. And it's just what a great segue, linking sales performance to expectations this financial year. So that was so well pre-rehearsed. Sam, you did a great job. And again, if you love this webinar, and we give them away, we do these webinars for free because it's about showcasing what we do and what we believe in and what we're passionate about. And so if you like what we've done, give us a Google review, and we really appreciate that. So any questions? So come on, feel free to ask some questions. You've got the guru here, and would love to answer any curly questions that you've currently got. And if you don't feel comfortable, that's fine.
Yeah,
just reach out to Sam or give us a call, and we'll put you in contact with Sam. But his details will be on the webinar on the thing, and you'll also get this little worksheet to work from as well, which I think is absolutely fantastic.
I just wanted to add too, Colin, that thank you for being allowing me to be part of today and sharing some of the things that I think are important as fundamentals. If anyone wants to reach out that are on this, you're most welcome to reach out. We're happy and would love to give value of at least half an hour phone call or a Zoom meeting or in person, just to dig a little bit deeper. If you want to pick our brains, we're more than happy to invest our time in doing that. It's to say thank you.
So I'll finish this off is with your current account, if they're not holding you accountable, then that's a problem. And again, anyone does any work with us, one of the things I talk about is how do you hold your accountant accountable, right? So this guy's a great man. So he'll do some great things if you have a chat. All right, so we've got no other questions. I'll take that as it was a good webinar, and thanks very much. Enjoy the rest of the week, and we'll see you on the next webinar. Cheers.
Cheers. Stop the recording.
I'll get the mouse to go there.